In 2017, during a fraternity hazing at Penn State University, New Jersey native Timothy Piazza was killed. Since then, his parents have been lobbying for stricter hazing laws across the country. 2 months ago, Governor Murphy signed the Timothy Piazza anti-hazing bill into law in New Jersey. And now that law is being tested for the first time with a hazing case at Wall Township High School. I interviewed Jim and Evelyn Piazza about the case. Jim and Evelyn, thanks so much for joining us. We wanted to talk to you today because there is now a new hazing law, I say a couple of months ago, hazing law in New Jersey named after your son. And we had the first case of hazing at a high school at Wall Township High School since that bill was signed into law. Jim, how will your law, the law named after your son, affect this case?
Well, I think it's going to require the prosecutor and the police to look harder at what happened at this particular situation. And if it's determined that it was, in fact, hazing, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to use the law to prosecute the individuals. And, you know, the governor was very clear and when we met with him when he signed the law, saying that it's stupid. If it happens, we're going to prosecute and sentence people appropriately.
Yeah, the Monmouth County prosecutor has already taken over the case, so it is going to be investigated criminally. Evelyn, when you heard about this hazing case, did you think, my God, we still haven't grown? You've done so much work, and here we are again with a hazing case in New Jersey.
Unfortunately, hazing really starts in middle school and high school, and we ourselves haven't gotten to speak a lot to that audience, but it does need to be addressed in the lower grades so that it doesn't carry forward to college.
It does need to be addressed. And Jim, if I can talk to you again, are you disappointed? Because it sounds like we had a case in 2014 in Sayreville as well. Are you disappointed that coaches, I would assume, aren't really driving this home, that this cannot happen, that under this law, you're going to be charged criminally?
Yeah, so I think people, they're not paying attention and they're not thinking about the consequences. I mean, we've been all over the country talking to colleges and universities and fraternities and sororities. We haven't, because it's just impossible to get everywhere to hit all the high schools and earlier schools. So I don't know that they realize the magnitude of what's happening is criminal behavior, and it results in bad behavior and dangerous behavior eventually. And we think the only way that this is going to get eradicated is if people see arrests, prosecutions, and appropriate sentencing. And without it, it's just a law that nobody pays attention to.
Yeah, Evelyn, I guess I don't understand hazing. I don't understand why someone would take place in that. I know you're not a psychologist, but certainly you've been studying this now for a long time and traveling across the country and dealing with these cases. Do you understand why this happens?
It's an exertion of power and control, and it's for the existing members to make the new members or potential new members earn their way in and do whatever is required of them to prove their loyalty and commitment. It's not any sort of tradition or anything that really should be upheld. That's not how you run a team or a band or a fraternal organization. So it's really frustrating to watch.
And let me stay with you for a second, Evelyn. Since you kind of understand why it happens, how do you stop it?
I think you really need to get multiple layers. I think you need to address it in schools. You need to let parents know, and parents need to address it with their kids. And kids need to know what's happening to them is hazing, or what they're doing is considered hazing, because they may not even realize it. They may just think that they're asking people to do these feats or chores to prove themselves, and not realizing that what they're doing is a downhill slope and causing harm.
Right, it could cause it could cause incarceration for the people that are doing it too. Jim, what would you like to say to the Sayreville? Their high schools never recovered. Wall Township, they've had to cancel their Thanksgiving game, and parents are upset, and they won't probably recover for a long time. What would you like to say to high school administrators and coaches who may be listening?
Just be aware, listen up, listen to our story, understand what happened to our situation, and understand the law, and make sure that you're educating your students, your faculty, your athletic leaders, so that this behavior is just nipped in the bud and really doesn't happen. I mean, we've come a long way in 4 years, but there's still a lot of work to do, and we can't do it alone. This is an effort that everybody needs to take part of, including the parents. So education is critical, and no better place than the middle schools and the high schools. A good friend of mine is the principal of a high school, and he's all over it, and he understands it. And we need folks like that really pushing it down through the system.
You've had the laws changed in several states. How is the push going across the country?
I think it's going well. I mean, it's still slow. There's several states that we have gotten pushback from because they don't want to do increased reporting, or they're concerned about what it's going to do to the reputation of their universities in certain states. But there are a lot of states that have come along, and we've seen prosecutions as a result of law changes. And so I think it's going to start to take effect. And once people see they could go to jail, and they could end up in a courtroom spending hundreds of thousands of dollars defending themselves that's not covered by insurance, parents are going to say, whoa, we don't want that. So they're going to talk to their kids and say, stay away from it.
Yeah, Evelyn, another way to teach people is to show the effects that it has on a family and what can happen to a family. I thought about you and Jim coming into the holidays. Does it ever go away? Is it get easier at all?
Not really, no. Holidays are painful. We will always have that empty chair, and we will always be missing our son. And you just learn to live with the grief for the most part. Some days it can really take you down, and other days you can get through it and you can smile and laugh, but it never goes away. The pain is always there. The fact that somebody chose to harm your child and then didn't help them is unbearable.
And you have an anniversary coming up too in February.
Yeah, it'll be 5 years. Unbelievably.
Thank you so much for spending the time. I admire the both of you so much. I admire people that take a personal tragedy and turn it into something positive to stop it from happening again. So God bless you in your travels and success. Jim and Evelyn Piazza, National Anti-Hazing Advocates. Still to come on Jersey Matters.
An assisted living community in our area is using virtual reality to reduce the isolation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. More on that story next.